Hey everybody, it's me, John Ward, and welcome back to another out of the theater, in my car, rant. But this is not a rant. I just got out of seeing Superman, and I liked it. It's not perfect. It's still like, Henry Cavill is Superman. Of course, Christopher Reeve is the best. But this is definitely a different start, to this new, James Gunn universe. It doesn't at all feel like the Zack Snyder version, which is, darker, meaner, a little grittier. This feels much more like a comic book. I'm not going to say it feels like Batman the movie from the 1960s, but there is definitely a Superman the movie, the original one with Christopher Reeve, and God, what else could I compare it to? Because I don't want to say Batman the movie or Superman 3, but it's got a lot of humor. And it feels a lot more like a comic book. There's a lot more colors in it where, like Man of Steel and some of these other things did not. I prefer the darker DC universe, but Zack just wasn't doing it for me. Superman is my favorite character, my favorite DC character. Spider-Man is my favorite Marvel. And this, I liked it, but it had a lot of that James Gunn humor. So if you like that type of thing, like with The Suicide Squad or Guardians of the Galaxy, you would probably like this too. Sorry about if the sun's getting into the picture there. I'm right at that peak back there where the sun is. But I gotta say, my two favorite characters in this, wouldn't be Superman or Lois Lane, who I thought were fine. I loved Crypto, and I loved, Mr. Terrific. Guy Gardner was good, as Green Lantern. Hawk Girl, which I'm really surprised these days that they called her Hawk Girl and not Hawk Woman. But she was good too. I mean, everybody was good in this. Holt was good in this, as Lex Luthor. But it seems like the movie should have been longer for some reason. It's like, and I've heard some people say, and I agree with this, which is, it almost feels like a second movie or a third movie, because we are so, we start off with a battle. And, the end of a battle. Well, yeah, I guess it's kind of the end of a battle, which is where you see in the trailer, Superman just bashed up and bleeding in the snow. And I'm going to try to stay away from spoilers unless it was something that I saw in the trailer. But it's really seems like, James Gunn, who is obviously a comic book fan, might even be too much of a comic book fan, tried to throw everything into this movie. I think that it would have been fine if it was just kind of like Superman the movie, just between Superman and Lex. But I understand why they don't want to do that, because then it just gets compared. Over the last few days, I watched Man of Steel, Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut. I watched Batman v Superman, and that's like the extended version of it. I'm probably going to go home and maybe watch Superman Returns, which is not my favorite, but I haven't seen it in a while. And then I've been watching some DC animated, like Justice League films. I'm right now on the second, they're not really episodes, but I guess second film in the Crisis on Infinity Earths series. I liked the first one, which was about 90 minutes. I think each one is around 90 minutes, and there's 3 parts. So I'm kind of into this right now. Maybe this didn't fully, Superman, maybe it didn't fully grab me because I am so used to a darker universe, and it's just going to have to be given time. There are odd choices in this, and especially one near the very end, which I was happy to see, but I thought it was very strange. There are some cameos in this, so I recommend, if you're going to see this, don't look at who the cameos are, because I did not look them up, and I was surprised and kind of laughed a little bit. There's definitely James Gunn directing in this, and this is in the trailer, where he punches a guy who's in the sky and the teeth fly towards the camera. Very James Gunn. But I have very mixed feelings about him, really ever since the Trauma days. I've always found that he was hit and miss. A lot of people talk about that he wrote Dawn of the Dead, but then I've seen a few videos from other screenwriters that say, no, he really didn't write Dawn of the Dead. He was one of many writers, but he's the guy who got credit for it. And everybody gives him credit for it instead of other writers. I do like the Guardians of the Galaxy films. I guess maybe because I don't think they're the greatest things. I know some people like the first one. They don't like the second one. They like the third. I don't know. To me, they're all kind of the same. And I did like The Justice League better than Suicide Squad, but I really would like to see the David Ayers cut of that. If we kind of have to stop with doing these cuts, maybe that one would be a good one to stop at, because he really did kind of get screwed over. But I enjoyed this, and I do recommend seeing it. I do recommend seeing it in the theater. It's got a really good soundtrack, music-wise, and score are pretty good. The editing, the directing is pretty good. Like I said, there are some weird choices, but I don't know, maybe this was a much bigger movie, and they just scaled it down to just under 2 hours, because I really felt that this could have been a 3-hour movie if they wanted it to be at least a 2-hour and 30-minute movie, because there seems to be so many unanswered questions. But of course, do we really need to see Superman's origins again? We do get a little bit of that, but it's okay. It's fine. There's a good reason for it. And they do change history for why Superman comes to Earth. And I'm not going to say what it is, but I don't know if I believe what this twist is that his original parents, his blood parents from Krypton, are saying. We are missing some things when, once again, this is in the trailer, where like the guy throws the can at Superman's head, that Superman is looked at as a hero, and then he's not. And that's the way the internet works, unfortunately. But there should have been some scenes, and you could have gotten some cameos out of this, where people are in news stations maybe saying, well, the footage that we're seeing could be doctored. How do we know these subtitles are correct? How do we know that what they're saying is really what they're saying? And we don't get that at all. Immediately, everybody assumes the worst. But that's how people are. They immediately assume the worst, and they don't really want proof. I mean, so I liked that, but I think that they could have done more with it. Had more questions. Some people believe it, some people don't. Is this political? Yes and no. The two countries that are fighting are made up. Kind of obvious of which two countries they're talking about. Is this, but we've had in other movies too, where, people where there have been battles, against two different countries, and people go in, and it could be Rambo, it could be a superhero, it could just be soldiers or something, and fight. So the war in this wasn't as bad as some people had made it out to be, but it's pretty obvious of what the countries are. Is this a movie about immigrants? No, I don't think it is at all. I've seen a lot of people say this deals with the immigrant or illegal immigrant problem. I did not see it that way. Superman has always been looked at, and it's been brought up in almost every movie and comic books and everything else, that he is an alien. He is not from this planet. So that, I don't know. I don't know why people are saying that. I don't even know why the cast and crew would be saying that. I find it very annoying that James Gunn, his brother, some other people are like, oh, well, yeah, of course this is a political movie. It really isn't. If it is a political movie, then name real countries. Don't make up fake countries. If this is in a kind of like a pro illegal immigrant film, let's say, because of Superman, then do that. Don't skirt around it. Don't be a baby and leave that stuff out. But I guess that they could only do what they could. So I don't really know. I wish that filmmakers would stop doing that. I wish that actors would stop doing that. It just doesn't serve any point to the film. As far as Superman goes, I think he is a little bit of a cuck. If he's been on the planet for 30 years, which is funny because who else was on the planet for 30 years, until, he got nailed to a 2x4. But he seems to be so incredibly naive for somebody who's been on the planet for 30 years that he seems way too nice, way too trusting, way too sincere. I think who did it perfectly really was, Christopher Reeve. And that was the perfect mix right there. But this, he just seems to be, I don't want to say dumb, but he just seems to be incredibly naive. And I think by the end of the movie, or maybe a second film when they do it, he'll be not as naive. Lois Lane is Lois Lane. I thought that the actress did a very good job. She embodied really pretty much like the Margot Kidder Lois Lane, and who, Christopher Reeve is the will always be the quintessential Lois Lane. So, do I recommend this? Yes. What rating do I give this? Let's say, the whole 1 out of 5. I would give it a 4. I really would. It might... I could see it maybe going to a 4.5 down the road. Or, depending on what they do, it could almost go to maybe, I don't know, like a 3.5 or something. It just depends on how they handle it. But they need to make Superman, or Clark Kent can be the bumbling guy. That's fine. He always has been. But Superman needs to be more mature. He needs to not be as naive as they're showing him in this. I think he's way too old to be that naive. So, with all that being said, I do recommend it. If you want to see it, definitely go see it in the theater. Because of the picture, the sound. I was with an audience that was pretty much into it. They liked it. But Jurassic World Rebirth, people actually clapped at the end. Nobody clapped in this. They just kind of got up and left. There are 2 credit scenes. There's a mid-credit scene and a post-credit scene. And so stick around until the very, very end. And so you'll get those 2 scenes. But, okay, so thank you very much. And I will, talk to you on the next one, which might be, I know what you did last summer. That will be with OGP. And that's going to be coming up in, I don't know, probably the end of the week when it comes out. We're going to go catch that. We'll do a double possible rant, maybe not rant. But, yeah, so, check it out. If not, if you don't really have an interest, check it out on streaming then. They're back to HBO Max, so catch it on there then, because it is worth watching, even if you don't want to see it in the theater. So, all right, everybody, thanks a lot, and I'll see you on the next video. Okay, bye.